Randana Vrajajana Randana Shamunatira Vanachari Shamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Statera Satashishimad Shridhani Goswami Shile Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Statera Satashishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Iskan Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse that I want on the board is 10:1:17. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got something to do. This is devotional service and packing. Are you able to get, is that? Ah, yes. So, we begin. Krishna, the appearance of Lord Krishna. Bhumi dripta nipravyacha Daityanika satayutai Akranta bhuri bharena Brahmanam sharanam yayao Bhumir dripta nipavyaja Daityanika satayutai Akranta bhuri bharena Brahmanam sharanam yayo. Others? Bhumir dripta nirpavyaja Daityanika satayutai Akranta buri bharena amyayo. Nam charanam yayo. Driptan piravyaja Daityanika satayutai Akranta buribharena Brahmanam sharanam yayo. Would you like to try it? Bhumir dripta nibhavyaja Daityanika satayutai Akranta buribharena Brahmanam sharanam yayo. Bhumi, Mother Earth, dripta, puffed up. Nripa Vyaja, posing as kings, or the supreme power personified in the state. Daitya, of demons. Anika, of military phalanxes of soldiers. Shata ayutahi, unlimitedly by many hundreds of thousands. Akranta, being overburdened. Bhuri bharena, by a burden of unnecessary fighting power. Brahmanam, unto Lord Brahma. Sharanam, to take shelter. Went. Yayao, went. Once, when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Purport. Something on my computer here. One second. When the world is overburdened by unnecessary military arrangements, and when various demoniac kings, hold on, there's some, my computer is screwing up here. Let me try. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. One second. Okay, there's something going on with my computer. I'm trying to read this. Here we go. When various demoniac kings are the executive heads of state, this burden causes the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4:7, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmaham shajam yaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion. At that time I appear myself. When the residents of this earth become atheistic and godless, they descend to the status of animals, like dogs and hogs, and thus their only business is to bark among themselves. This is dharmasya glani, deviation from the goal of life. Human life is meant for attaining the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But when people are godless, and the presidents or kings are unnecessarily puffed up with military power, their business is to fight and increase the military strength of their different states. Nowadays, therefore, it appears that every state is busy manufacturing atomic weapons to prepare for a third world war. Such preparations are certainly unnecessary. They reflect the false pride of the heads of state. The real business of a chief executive is to see to the happiness of the mass of people by training them in Krishna consciousness in different divisions of life. Chaturvarnyam mahayashishtam guna karma vibhagashaha, Bhagavad Gita 4:13. A leader should train the people as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and engage them in various occupational duties, thus helping them progress toward Krishna consciousness. Instead, however, rogues and thieves, in the guise of protectors, arrange for a voting system, and in the name of democracy, they come to power by hook or crook and exploit the citizens. Even long, long ago, asuras, persons devoid of God consciousness, became the heads of state, and now this is happening again. The various states of the world are preoccupied with arranging for military strength. Sometimes they spend 65% of the government's revenue for this purpose. But why should people's hard-earned money be spent in this way? Because of the present world situation, Krishna has descended in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. This is quite natural, for without the Krishna consciousness movement, the world cannot be peaceful and happy. Om Agyanatam Randasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapiram Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Tam Sujivam Sadvetam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Jai. Hare Krishna. I chose this verse, and I'd like to read the way in which Prabhupada translates this verse from the Krishna book, because I think we're all quite familiar with this opening statement. I'm familiar with it particularly because as I think some of you know, I'm inclined towards drama. I'm just an actor. I mean, sitting up here is also an act. I have I'm just putting on a show. No qualification to be here. But I can act. I can do some acting. So in acting, we often have done this Krishna book readings and so on. And this is such a wonderful opening statement. Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings who were actually demons, but were posing themselves as the royal order. So this verse, today's verse, sets the scene for what will happen tomorrow. It's the beginning of this great Leela of Krishna's descent upon this earth. It begins with a situation that is fits the description that Krishna describes in the Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, that Prabhupada refers to in his purport. That when a dharma has risen, dharma is lost, when there is a rise of when there's a need for protecting the devotees. This comes out in the next verse, parichanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. So when these things happen, when a dharma rises, when the principles of dharma are lost, and when the devotees are in danger, then, and when the irreligious require some correction, then the Lord descends. So the situation, as we'll learn through the Bhagavatam in this particular state of affairs, the Asuras had entered into the population of the earth. It's said that Asuras in the or the ungodly in the Sattva Yuga remain in their own planetary systems. But as the ages progress, then the Asuras begin to enter into the population of the world. But they're still distinct. But it's said that in this age, in the Kali Yuga, the Asuric mentality has entered into everyone. And so therefore we find in the Kali Yuga that it would be impossible for Krishna to deal with the Asuras in the same way as in previous ages, by incarnating and arranging a war and wiping everyone out. For that particular purpose, in this age, it would mean everyone is gone. So, therefore, instead of attacking the Asuras individually, since they're no longer individual, the Asuric mentality has entered in to the general population. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears to destroy that Asuric mentality through the Hare Krishna Sankirtan movement. Thus, Prabhupada in this purport describes how the situation today is so similar to the situation in the end of Dwapara Yuga when Krishna appeared. However, the incarnation to deal with this is the Krishna consciousness movement, the Harinam Sankirtan movement, inaugurated by Krishna himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is Harinama, 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 eva kevalam kalo nasyeva 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 gatiranyata. But we should also understand that Krishna had a more internal purpose. Prabhupada writes in his in the Sitsi Adi Leela 4:15-16. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj speaks of the Lord's appearance, saying, Prema rasa niryasa karite ashvadan, raga marga bhakti loke karite prachare ran. Rasika shekara Krishna parama karuna, edvi hetu haite ichara udgama. Prabhupada translates, The Lord's desire to appear was born from two reasons. So we've heard from the Gita that the Lord had two reasons: to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants. But here, somewhat different two reasons are given. The Lord's desire to appear was born from two reasons. The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of God. And he wanted to propagate devotional service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction, or raga marg. Thus he is known as supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. So here, Srila Prabhupada in his purport states, during the period of Lord Krishna's appearance, the killing of asuras or non-believers such as Kamsa and Jarasandha was done by Vishnu, who was within the person of Sri Krishna. Such apparent killing by Lord Sri Krishna took place as a matter of course and was an incidental activity for him. But the real purpose of Lord Krishna's appearance was to stage a dramatic performance of his transcendental pastimes at Vrajabhumi, thus exhibiting the highest limit of transcendental mellow in the exchanges of reciprocal love between the living entities and the Supreme Lord. So this is the first purpose that Krishnadas Kaviraj describes, that in order to, first Prabhupada explains that in order to annihilate the miscreants, which is described by Krishna as his purpose in the Gita, to establish religion and so on, he conducts this through his Vishnu personality. Within the personality of Krishna, within the supreme personality of Godhead, exist all the various expansions and incarnations of the Lord. How does it go? Iti chamchakala pumsham Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So these various amshas, they're all originally from Krishna. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. So in order to fulfill some purpose, he expands himself. So for the purpose of dealing with the asuras in the end of the Dwapara Yuga, when Jarasandha had amassed such great phalanxes, this is the term phalanxes. I don't think I'd heard this term phalanxes before I read the Krishna book. But I think, as far as I understand, we would, in more modern military terms, these would be great regiments, battalions. I think, yes, in fact, battalion is probably the proper terminology. In the U.S. Military, we have the various battalions. So it means a lot of soldiers. And there are specific numbers, different akshohin, so many akshohinis and so many become this and that. I don't remember much of that. But suffice it to say that there was a lot. There were a huge number of military development, as we have to a large extent today. Although only, I was curious because Prabhupada talks about how governments are spending up to 65%, and that I believe during the Second World War particularly, this was very much the case, that so much of the revenue of the government went simply to fighting those wars. And those countries that are at war today, the Ukraine particularly, is spending 50% of its revenue in fighting that war. So this is this is going on now. The people are fighting over territory, because what is the fight? The fight is over land. In every case, it's a fight over possession of land, not over religion. I mean, there are some battles that have taken place in the world based on religious principles or religious ideas, but more or less the battles of today, of the recent past, have all been on territory. Now, one can claim that this, keeping one's territory is necessary to keep one's freedoms and keep one's way of life, and of course that was the battle cry for the U.S. In the Vietnam War, which thankfully most of you were not present, but Prabhupada came to us in the 60s while we were caught up in a battle that was not even for our own territory, but it was for territory in some far-off part of the world, which was claimed to be the bulwark against a communistic ideology, that if it were to capture that territory, would then capture more territory. It was called the domino theory, that then Cambodia would fall and Laos would fall, and then gradually the Chinese communists would become more and more powerful, and then they would mount a threat, and then we'd be back into another world war, and we'd have to use nuclear weapons, etc., etc. So the solution, we're going to go over there into the jungles of Vietnam and try to fight it out with the Viet Cong. And it was a disaster. It was a total disaster. The Viet Cong we didn't have any idea. Our young boys, I escaped. I just didn't even. Anyway, won't get into that. But I know some of my godbrothers who went and described the disaster of that. Boys from the small towns of America ending up in the jungles. What are they going to do? It was a terrible time. And Prabhupada came to us right in the middle of this and said to us, here, look, this is the result of godlessness. Because the true peace formula starts with Bhoktaram Jagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. It's only when we recognize Krishna to be the proprietor of everything that we can actually have peace in this world. So, to establish these principles, Krishna expands himself in various forms to deal with these demoniac forces. But he has his own internal reason for appearing. 5,000, what is it? Somebody calculated, it's 5,140 or something. Who remember? Anyone remember that? 5,200? 252. That was last year. So this is 5,253 is coming up. Hare Krishna. So 5,253 years ago, Krishna appeared in this world. And here Prabhupada tells us that his first purpose was to stage a dramatic performance. So the pastimes of Krishna in this world are eternally present in his own world, in Goloka Vrindavan. But he wants to show it off. He wants to stage this Leela in our world. Why? In order that we may obtain the same mood, the same love that is at the that forms and creates this drama. So therefore, the second purpose described here, Prabhupada says, these reciprocal exchanges of mellows are called raga bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord in transcendental rapture. Lord Sri Krishna wants to make known to all the conditioned souls that he is more attracted by raga bhakti than vidhi bhakti, or devotional service under scheduled regulations. It is said in the Vedas, Taittiriya Upanishad. Again, I'm having problems here. So rasa. The absolute truth is the reservoir for all kinds of reciprocal exchanges of loving sentiments. There's something blocking my screen and I can't get rid of it, so I'm trying to read this here. He is also causelessly merciful, and he wants to bestow upon us this privilege of raga bhakti. Thus he appeared by his own internal energy. He was not forced to appear by any extraneous force. So, by staging this, his Leela, by bringing his Leelas here to our world, by bringing them to us through the Srimad Bhagavatam, by bringing them to us through the acharyas, we get to hear about love in its highest form. And by hearing about it, we become attracted to it. And as we become attracted to it, we want to hear more. And as we go on hearing, then we can also develop some spontaneous attraction. In the beginning, we hear about Krishna out of, you could say, because we're directed to by our spiritual masters. Our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and his those who come in his line, they all are instructing, hear about Krishna. Devotional service begins like this, Shravana. We must hear about Krishna. Because as we hear about Krishna, then naturally our dormant attraction, at present that attraction is like a seed in us. It's covered over by, essentially it's covered by envy. Because we become envious of Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pleasure, Krishna's position, Krishna's stardom. He's the star of the show in his dramatic performance. And we're meant to play supporting roles, but somehow or other, which is a total mystery in many ways, somehow or other we get the idea, I want to star, I want to be the center, I want the everything to come to me. And because of that envy, we become covered. We become covered by Maya. Because it's impossible for us to actually be in that position. It's not who we are. But because we want it, and because Krishna reciprocates with our desire, he gives us an illusion of being in the center, an illusion of being masters. And this Maya conditions us to seek pleasure in the material world. And thus, our natural relationship with Krishna gets covered more and more and more. But it is meant to come forth. It's the true source of happiness and satisfaction. And if we practice the activities of one who is in love with Krishna, then gradually we become purified and our spontaneous love awakens. So here we are on the verge of the eve of celebrating Krishna's appearance. And we do this to accelerate, to accentuate, to concentrate, and to expand our hearing about Krishna, our thinking about Krishna, so that gradually, that raga, that natural attraction, will awaken within us. This is the real fundamental purpose that Krishna comes. Prabhupada says sometimes that in order to destroy the demons, he doesn't even have to appear. He can send a disease. There's so many ways that he can wipe out human beings without a care. But in order to help us reawaken our love for him, therefore he appears, therefore he comes. And you can think, well, why isn't he still here? He came, and we still need him to awaken our love. He says, yes, therefore I stay with you in this Kali Yuga in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is called the literary incarnation of the Lord. So although Krishna wound up his pastimes more than 5,000 years ago to our vision, those same pastimes, that same lila, that same appearance continues in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam and simultaneously he appears as his holy names. So he's here as the Bhagavatam, he's here as his holy names, and we're very fortunate that he also is here in his deity form as Radha Govinda and in so many other places. And he stays with us in his Dham, and he stays with us in the hearts of the devotees. And as we associate with each other in devotional service, then we are also associating with the Supreme Lord. So we should not lament and think, oh, well, Krishna, you came, but you went. He's left us in visual appearance in order to deepen our love for him. But he's always present in the form of his holy name, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in his deity form, in his holy dhams, and in the hearts of the devotees who are engaged always in his service. So we have lots of service to do in order to prepare this temple to receive maybe at least 1,000, if not up to maybe 1,500, 2,000 guests, devotees and members of our community and others who will come here to have that connection with Krishna that this temple can provide in a very strong way. So let's all enthusiastically engage today in all the various services we have to prepare and try to always remember the pastimes of Krishna so that our love for Krishna can awaken and become spontaneous. Not that we have to remind ourselves, time to think about Krishna. Remind us, it's time to chant the holy names. Now it's time to do so. No. These thoughts of Krishna, the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, the engagement in devotional service, we aspire that it becomes automatic. It just naturally, it just springs forth without any need to be reminded. That's our aspiration. So, we have a few more minutes, just 5 minutes more for the class, and I thought it'd be nice if there's anyone has some questions, comments, something to add to this topic.
Prabhu, thank you very much for this class, and especially I appreciated the point of all the different ways in which Krishna is still with us every day. All these different forms, yes, like Bhagavatam, the Vaishnavas. And I'm thinking that our whole purpose is to please Krishna, especially on Krishna Janmashtami. And you said that, you quoted Bhagavatam, Krishna is more pleased by spontaneous devotional service. Then it brings to mind the question, is there something special I should do to develop this type of devotional service? If so, at what point in my devotional practice should I consider that? Some devotees will read some special books or do different sadhanas. Is that required? So basically, how does that transition look like from regulated service to spontaneous?
I'm not the best person to answer that question because I'm still very much at the level of Vaidhi Bhakti. But I am reading, as we read here, and I am hearing from others, and I'll try to explain what I understand. But again, that's my own understanding. And what I believe that how Srila Prabhupada directed us. So, first of all, I believe, and again, this is my understanding, and I'm not right now, I quoting anything specific. But one thing that I can say that I think is fundamental to this is that the sadhana, Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana activities are the same. It's the mood in which one is performing those. So the sadhana of chanting japa, of doing kirtan, of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, of various forms of devotional service, these are the same activities in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. The difference is in why you're doing it. What's your mood? How much spontaneous attraction you have for doing these things. In Vaidhi Bhakti, we rise early in the morning because we have to, or we chant our japa because we want to progress, although it's not so easy. We don't have a natural, when we have to kind of, you could say, force ourselves to pay attention. But that forcing yourself to pay attention when you're chanting japa, doing all the things that you may do, everyone has their own little ways to try to bring their attention back to the hearing of the holy name, that process gradually leads to where the attention is natural, the focus is natural. So that evolution of Vaidhi Bhakti into Raganuga Bhakti, my understanding is it's a natural evolution as we practice bhakti and we don't have that natural affection, but we do it. Then gradually we're purified and cleansed, and the dormant rag, the love awakens, and then it becomes spontaneous. Now, so that's just a matter of doing what we're doing, but doing it sincerely and doing it with prayer, that spontaneous mood arises within us. In addition, there are certain kinds of hearing about Krishna, which, we have to perhaps bring. Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book, and we have the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto. So hearing the pastimes of Krishna, because this is what Krishna is saying here, that I've displayed this, I've made this drama to awaken your rag, to awaken your love. So we have to hear that. But in order to hear it with the right mood and the right understanding, we have to progress through the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to develop faith, more and more faith in Krishna's pastimes. So we develop faith by hearing about the faith of Dhruva, the faith of Prahlad. I don't know if some of you have watched the movie just recently, wonderful movie, in which the core message was the power of faith. So to get the faith in that we need in order to properly to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and in such a way that it does begin to awaken more and more our spontaneous attraction. We need to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. We need to be engaged in services and so on that purify. We need to be engaged in the service of our spiritual master, particularly because tadvidi pranipatena pariprashanena sevaya, with this through submissive service, we get. What is it? Upadekshanti te jnanam jnanyas tattva darshana. But I'm looking at Yasya devi para bhakti yata devi tata guru tasyaite katityar hartas prakashante mahatmanaha. Through service to the spiritual master and to Krishna, then this attraction and this purification awakens within us. So my understanding is it's not so much of a separate process of engaging in, it's a natural evolution of our hearing and chanting and so on. There is a stage that comes where that attraction begins to bring forth something specific. There is a stage in bhakti in which, as we're hearing about Krishna's pastimes, we're hearing about this Leela, dramatic, some character in his Leela, some specific act or scene starts to attract us more than others. And when that happens, then we're encouraged to nurture that by hearing more about those activities. But that's not something that can be artificially adopted. There is a group of Vaishnavas who we call Sahajya, who say that they practice a type of sadhana in which the guru gives some identity and then they follow it. But that's not in our line. We aspire to experience that after once it be naturally as it comes, but it won't come if we're not hearing about Krishna. So, and not chanting the holy names and not trying to free ourselves of our mundane identifications, because as long as we're identifying with this mundane world, as long as we're identifying with our mundane personalities, then how are we going to discover our real, who we actually are? So that's my understanding. I don't know if that helps. Yeah. So it's, I don't think, I believe that, but at the same time we shouldn't, be shy of the concept, oh, Raganuga Bhakti, oh, well, that's, and over there, and, let's not talk about that. Another key element of development is smarana, because along with the practice of Shravana and Kirtana, then the next one is smarana. So we perhaps could do more in smarana, and Prabhupada gave us some very easy methods of smarana. The first one is learning verses, learning prayers, learning songs, singing the songs. This is all smarana. So, and naturally, again, as it, without forcing, without artificially thinking, okay, now I've got to, now let me think now, let's see, Saka, let's see, Gopi, forget all that. I mean, that will come. It will come with time. But we can be thinking of Krishna's pastimes. And we have all these prayers to do it. I mean, we have the Mangalacharna itself. When the prayers to our deities, right there. Divya Drindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Srimad Nagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalabihi Sevyamano Smarami. So just that one prayer gives us smarana. Krishna in the Divya Vrindaranya, in this divine Vrindavan, this forest of Vrindavan, Divya Vrindaranya, Ratnagara, in a jeweled house, Singhasana, so seated upon a beautiful throne. Srimad Radha, with Radha and Govinda, Prestalabihi, with their dear friends, Sevyamano, serving them. Samarami, I contemplate this scene. So we can practice that. And then Srimad Rasa Rasarambir Mamsi Vatatata Stitaha. The Rasa Rasambir, the Lord of the Rasa who initiates the Rasa dance, Vamsi Vatatata Stitaha, at the Vamsi Vata Karshan Venu, attracting Karshan Venu, his flute, Karshan Venu Svanayar, the sound, Gopi, Gopinatha, Shri Estu Naha. So I recommend learning the meaning of all the words of the songs that we sing. I think that is a practice that I think does help us in smarana, because we have these songs. And it's certainly wonderful to sing them, but if we know the meaning of the words, then it's deeper. Okay. Now it's 10 minutes past. I'm sorry. I was trying to end early. But that means more service got done. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.